We know it better as the Auto 5, but that's the Browning FN-made version of John Moses Browning's first semi-automatic shotgun. It started production at Remington in 1905.
John Moses Browning considered the autoloading shotgun to be his finest design, which is saying a lot for someone who is widely considered to be the most influential and important firearms designer in history. It also marked a major shift in how John Moses Browning did business.
Generally, Browning's deal with Winchester was he brings them an idea, a design, and prototype, a functioning prototype. The board of Winchester would take a look at it and agree after some consideration to give him a lump sum for them to produce and sell the gun. Except for one time, Winchester said no, because Browning said he wanted a royalty off of each gun produced in this new semi-automatic shotgun design that he had.
It was one of the designs that he was most proud of, and he thought that he needed a new deal. And so John Browning and his brother traveled to meet with Marcellus Hartley, who was then the president of Remington. In a series of unfortunate events, while waiting to meet with Mr. Hartley, John Moses Browning was literally waiting around as Hartley died. So the chances of Remington adopting his gun with the president dead and confusion going on didn't happen.
And so he took his design overseas. He went to Fabrique Nationale. They snatched it up. They produced the first Browning autoloading shotguns, came back to the States, and Hartley's successor, Marcellus Hartley Dodge, was also very enthusiastic and had Browning bring the design in to him. And that's when Remington and Browning got together on production of the Browning autoloading shotgun.
Remington went into production with the Remington Autoloading Shotgun starting in 1905. And this was really a game changer. It was the first American-made semi-automatic shotgun, and they sold literally in the hundreds of thousands. This was an incredible commercial success for Remington. The gun was offered in 12 gauge, in 16 gauge, and 20 gauge, and its name changed in 1911 to the Remington Model 11. So when you look at a very early Remington shotgun, it doesn't say Model 11 on it, and that's because they didn't create that designation, that model number, until 1911.
Now, the design of an autoloading shotgun offered challenges that weren't there in pistols or rifles designed. The main one being the wide variety of ammunition that had to be accommodated. Not only do shotgunners need to use different types of loads, from heavy loads to very light loads. At this time, late 19th, early 20th century, shotgun shell design was a little tricky. They were generally paper or cardboard shells with a brass base, and even manually repeating shotguns were having difficulty getting these to cycle without the case separating, much less a semi-auto. With a new semi-automatic pistol, Browning introduced new cartridges that could only be used in his pistol, so he's always going to have smokeless powder and an appropriate case design for his pistol. With the shotguns, he's going to be using existing shot shells, and there are black powder loads, there are smokeless powder loads, there are various quality manufactured shells, so it was a much greater challenge than the pistol or rifle auto-loading firearms.
Remington stayed with his pioneering shotgun design as its primary semi-automatic all the way up through World War II. Of course, during World War II, shotgun production was mostly suspended. But then after World War II, they came out with the Remington 1148. Now, this is a very different looking gun than the Auto 5 or the Remington Model 11. And that's because the early Browning guns has a humped back receiver, a very squared off rear receiver profile. And it's actually a beautiful gun, but that's not where things were going. The 1148 works pretty much exactly as a Remington autoloading shotgun. It's just the back of the receiver is rounded. The lines are changed up. And it operates exactly the same way. It just looks a little more modern.
When I think of Remington self-loading shotgun designs over the years, and this is a period now spanning 115 years, one word comes to my mind, and that is technology. I think from the beginning, 1905, 1906 era, when Remington first introduced its automatic shotgun, which was essentially a clone of the Browning A5, I think it was seeking the most current technology. And at that time, that was the most current technology. But in retrospect, the idea of changing out springs and washers and rearranging parts in the gun in order to make it function with specific loads is anathema to today's shooters. Today's shooters want something that works with as many loads as possible without changing anything. And I think as the years went on, that 115-year period up to the present day, I think Remington pursued that. Today, Remington autoloaders are state-of-the-art.
For pretty much a half a century, the leading shotgun design in semi-automatics was the John Moses Browning Auto 5 Remington Model 11. And the gun was also licensed from Remington to Savage. So you see these guns that look like an Auto 5 or a Model 11 that are actually manufactured by Savage. And they seem sort of quaint and outdated, sort of like a Model T today. But they're excellent guns. They were one of the best-selling guns at the first half of the 20th century. And today you can find the Remingtons, and they're not quite as expensive as a Browning, but just about every one that I've picked up and shot, they always seem to work, just as John Moses Browning intended.